Hi, fourth graders. We're going to continue our learning about expository nonfiction by using wonder statements about our topic. Earlier this week, or the end of last week, depending on when you did the lesson, you were learning about how animals see. You might have done some wonderings like, I wonder if sea animals can see underwater, or I wonder if animals see in color. Then when you read, you were able to look for the answers to the questions that you wondered. Today we are going to be using our wonderings to learn about how animals hear. Our target today is I can use wonderings to make sense of what I'm reading. You're going to need 3 things today: your student response journal for the Making Meaning lessons, your reading notebook, and a pencil. Please pause the video to get the supplies that you need, and then start it again when you are ready. As I mentioned, we're going to use our wonder statements about finding out how animals hear. I wrote some statements down already. I wonder if the shape of the ears help it hear better. I also wonder if the size of the ears help it hear better. And I wonder which animals have the best sense of smell. When I was wondering these things, I was thinking about some different animals in my head. I have my cats, who have kind of small ears and they stick straight up. But then it made me think of the elephants, who have huge ears, but they kind of flop over, so the ears are kind of muffled, or at least in my mind, I wonder if it's muffled. We're going to use these wonderings as I read today. Stop and think for a moment what wonderings you have about how animals hear. I'm going to read a couple of pages for you. As I'm reading, I want you to stop and think about whether your answers to your I wonder questions are being met. This first part is called All Ears. That is our heading for this part of the story. Are your ears big or small, flat to your head or sticking out? Ears come in all shapes and sizes, from tiny feather-covered holes of birds to the huge flappers of elephants. No matter what they look like, ears help animals in many ways. With them, animals can hear danger approaching, listen for food and water, communicate with other animals, and help locate a mate. A mate is a male or female partner. With them, animals can hear danger approaching, listen for food and water, communicate with other animals, and help locate a mate. Many animals have very sensitive ears and can hear sounds that we can't. They can also move their ears around to hear better. Now I want you to think for a moment. Have you had any of your wonder statements answered so far? I did notice that they mentioned the elephants that I was thinking about as well. Maybe this added some more wonderings to you as you were reading. I'm going to continue on, see if any more of your wonderings have been answered. They can also move their ears around to hear better. Try wiggling your ears and then read on to find out more about some special ears. So I notice in the bottom corner it says Kit Fox. That's our caption for this picture, which are more nonfiction features. Then I notice our box, so we want to make sure we read that too. If you were a kit fox, you would have very large, pointed ears. They would help you hear many sounds and make it easier to find and catch your food in the dark. You would be able to move your ears around. This would help you figure out where sounds were coming from to hear them more clearly. Your long ears would help you keep cool in your hot, dry desert home, since body heat escapes through your ears faster than anywhere else. So now I've heard about the having very large pointed ears, and it says that it would help you hear many sounds. So this part tells me that the size of the ears does help. You can move it so you can hear all around, and it also helps you stay cool. those are some pretty interesting facts about the kit fox. The heading for this section is Hear What You're Missing. Have you ever watched a dog or cat perk up its ears and move them around while listening to a sound? Their large, movable ears trap more sound waves from the air and help them hear better than you can. Try on a bigger ear and hear what you're missing. So this is going to give us a step-by-step. It tells us the supplies. You'll need a piece of paper, about an 8.5 by 11. That's the same as like a regular sheet of paper. You'll need tape and music or other sounds. Number 1, roll the piece of paper into a cone shape and tape it. The narrow end should be big enough to fit over your outer ear. 2, hold the narrow end of the cone up to one ear. Plug the other ear with your finger. I noticed that they've given us some pictures, or almost like a diagram, for us to see what it should look like. That's more nonfiction features. 3, listen to some music or other sounds with the cone and without it. Point the cone away from each sound and then toward it. What do you notice? So if you want, go ahead and pause the video here and go ahead and try it. You should find the sound seem louder with the cone. And a larger ear can catch more sound waves from the air and funnel them to your eardrum where you hear. When the cone is pointed away from the sound should seem quieter. As you turn the cone toward the sound, it becomes louder. This is like a cat or a dog turning its ears toward a sound to hear better. Boy, I can make a connection to that with my 4 cats. They definitely use their ears and move them around. Again, we have another little box on the bottom. It says ears do more than hear. Animals that live in very cold places have small ears. Small ears lose less body heat, so the animals stay warmer. An elephant's huge ears help it keep cool, and they can also scare off enemies. When an elephant flaps its big ears, other animals back off. The next part is called sounds right or left. 2 ears are better than 1. When you hear a sound, you usually hear it first in one ear and then in the other, depending on which ear is closest to the sound. This helps you tell where the sound is coming from. Animals use sound to find food and mates. There's that word again about finding a female or male partner. Animals use sound to find food and mates and to avoid danger, so locating sounds can be key to survival. Try this simple activity to see how your ears work together. 1. Close your eyes and have a friend stand somewhere in the room and clap her hands. This could also be a family member. 2. When you hear the sound, point toward it. Have your friend or family member move around the room and try it again a few times. Now plug one of your ears with your finger and repeat the activity. Is there any difference? You should find that it is easier to tell where the sound is coming from when both ears are working together. Our little aside, ears all over. If you think ears are always on a creature's head, then you're in for a surprise. A grasshopper's ears are on its abdomen. An abdomen is like your belly. A grasshopper's ears are on its abdomen, while crickets and katydids have ears on their legs. That's pretty cool. So I want you to turn to your student response book, page 16. Write about what you wonder about how animals hear. We've learned a lot so far. We've learned about size, and we've learned a little bit about shape and other features of your ears. On page 16, pause the video and write at least 2 wonder statements before we continue reading. What are some things that you still wonder about? See if any of them are answered in this next section. Let's hear it for ears. Your ears can hear a lot of sounds, but some are too high or too low for people to hear. A cat can hear the high-pitched squeaks of an unseen mouse, and a dog will answer to a whistle that we can't hear. And don't try eavesdropping. That means listening in onto a conversation. And don't try eavesdropping on elephants. They communicate with rumbling noises so low that people can't hear them. For some animals, hearing is more important for survival than seeing. Survival means staying alive. for some animals, hearing is more important for survival than seeing. That makes me wonder. So right now I am wondering which animals need hearing for survival than others. I'm also wondering, how do they use their hearing for survival? If you have some more I wonder statements, add them to page 16 of your Making Meaning book. The picture on this page is the little brown bat. On the next page it says, if you were a bat, you would make very high-pitched sounds, too high for people to hear. The sounds would bounce off objects nearby and come back to your ears as echoes. The echoes would help you hunt in the dark and avoid obstacles. Obstacles are things that get in the way. This is called echolocation. Ooh, I think dolphins also use echolocation. And 2, you would have large ears to hear the echoes and figure out the size, speed, and location of the objects. You would be able to hear, find, and catch an insect in less than half a second. Wow, that's pretty fast. Go batty. Bats hunt by bouncing high-pitched sounds off nearby objects and listening to the echoes that come back. You can use a small rubber ball or a tennis ball to help you discover how a bat hears. So in order to do this, number 1, stand about 2 meters or 6.5 feet away from a wall and throw a ball at it. Now I will tell you, you need to make sure you ask your parents before trying this at home. The ball represents the sound sent out by the bat. Notice how long it takes for the ball to come back to you. Take a large step closer to the wall and throw the ball at the same speed again. Keep moving closer to the wall and notice how long it takes the ball to return to you. So did it get faster? Was it slower as you got closer to the wall? Here's another way. Have a friend hold a large board up in front of him, about 6.5 feet away or 2 meters. Throw the ball at the board and notice how long it takes to come back to you. Now have your friend walk slowly towards you by taking baby steps while you continue to throw the ball against the board. What do you notice? You should find that the closer you are to the wall, the sooner the ball comes back to you. A bat can tell how close it is to an object by how quickly the echo returns to its ears. As your friend moves closer to you, the ball will come back sooner. This is how a bat can tell if an object is moving and how quickly. Some moths can hear the bat's high-pitched sounds and drop to the ground to avoid being eaten. Underwater echoes. Whales, dolphins, and porpoises use echolocation to find food and avoid danger underwater. They make sounds that travel through the water and bounce off obstacles, fish, and other creatures. By listening to the echoes, these mammals can travel safely through the water and find and catch their prey. Feeling with sound. Some animals can sense sound even though they don't have ears. They can't hear sounds the way you do. They feel them instead. A mole doesn't have any ears, but it feels vibrations in its underground burrows. Vibrations may mean that food or danger is near. You can feel sound with this simple trick. You need a wooden board, a hammer. Again, on my side note, make sure that you do this with an adult. Lay the board on the ground. Hold on to one end while a friend hammers on the other. What do you feel? You should find that you feel the wood vibrating with your hands and hear the sound of hammering with your ears. Even if you couldn't hear, you would still feel the vibrations through the wood. If you were a mole or another earless creature such as a snake or earthworm, you would feel the vibrations made by an approaching animal, even though you couldn't hear the sounds of its footsteps. You could tell which vibrations mean food and which one means danger. So stop for a moment and think about what you've learned about the sounds that animals hear and how they use their ears or their bodies. In your notebook, I want you to open up to your table of contents. Today's date is 11/10/20, and I want you to write animal senses hearing. Now hopefully you can get this on one line. I ran out of space. Your page number is whatever page number is right for you. Some of you might be on page 20, some might be on page 15. On your page, you're going to write the animal senses hearing again at the top. It's time to reflect. What did you learn today about how animals hear? On this page, you're going to write 4 complete sentences stating what you learned about how animals use hearing. When you are writing, you'll start on the left, number 1, write what you learned. So I might start with, I learned that. Then you'll write, then you'll skip a line and write number 2. Maybe I'm going to start with animals hear by, skip a line, 3, you're going to write another statement, and then 4. So there should be 4 complete sentences about what you learned today about how animals hear. When you are doing your IDR today, or maybe even tomorrow, you might not be reading an expository nonfiction book, but that's okay. We can also use wonder statements as we are reading fiction books. Maybe something happens in your story and it causes you to wonder what will happen next. Wonder what the character will do. Wonder if they will get caught. On page 17, if you have some wonder statements while you're reading, I want you to jot them down on page 17 of your student response book or your Making Meaning journal. Remember, using I wonder statements help us understand the text that we are reading better.